abuse and need to reach out, you could contact the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center at 216-6192 or 1-800-656-HOPE, which is the national number. You can remain anonymous. So I'll go to the statistics. On average, 1 in 3 women report dating violence. I'm sorry. I'm going to do the statistics, then we'll go to the letter. So 1 in 3 women report dating violence, and 1 in 5 women report sexual violence. Approximately 40 to 60% of Black women report some type of sexual coercion before the age of 18. Communities must commit to centering the experiences of women of color. Leaders must equip themselves to support victims slash survivors and, in some cases, perpetrators in order to move towards healing. Leaders must understand how to combat the traditional faith community's response of upholding perpetrators of abuse instead of blaming survivors and failing to support. And with that being said, we'll go to Cassandra for the letter.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much, Lady Poet. Um, so here's our letter for this evening. Dear Survivor, continue in your journey to strive, grow, persevere, and most of all, love yourself. Be kind, be gentle, and be merciful to you. Life keeps life, and so adversities will come, challenges will challenge, and doors that you were sure would open up in a new and better pathway to your life will seemingly shut. Continue to move on anyway. The effects from enduring physical, mental, emotional, sexual, or financial abuse and violence have indeed left behind their scarred imprints on your life. That's normal. It's your mind's way of working to try to protect you in the best way that it knows how. For all of the things that have happened in your life, you are now and will remain a survivor. But to stay on this track, don't forget to get a game plan in place for support because you do not travel this journey alone. Write I am of affirmations for yourself and breathe. Develop a vision board. Breathe. Set aside time for prayer and meditation. Breathe. Get counseling and therapy. Breathe. Read personal development books. Breathe again. Write a journal or use a devotional to capture your writings. And continue to stay tuned here with us at Open Letters to a Survivor podcast to hear about the journeys of others like you who survive on the opposite side of abuse. Breathe again and rejoice. The tears will come for various reasons. Let them flow. The nightmares may try to haunt every now and then. You're a survivor and they're not real. You're safe. Joy will find itself in more of your days. Life has a balance, and as a survivor, you are posed and ready to pivot into the sea of peace and tranquility. Continue to strive. Say, I love you in a mirror repeatedly, looking at yourself directly in the eyes every day for the next 7 days for at least 15 seconds per day. God has you here in your purpose. Take one day at a time. You got this. You are not alone. You are not a victim. And you are indeed a victorious survivor. And we are here for you. Sincerely, Lady Poet Speaks, K Love, the entire team of the Open Letters to a Survivor podcast, today's guest, and me, Cassandra Williams.
Thank you. Your letters are always so inspirational. Like, you need to keep those just so you could turn them into something different that we'll be working on. So my guests today are both pastors Roger and Barbara Walker. So just a little bit about them. They do have their own show called Hanging with the Walkers. They are the ones who gave me my start. They actually interviewed me on my show on their show right before I started my show. So that they I thank them, and it was like an instant family. Like when I talked to them, it was like I was talking to auntie and uncle. It wasn't just like I was being interviewed. So we welcome them to the Open Letters to a Survivor family. Kayla will start us off with that, but we do welcome them today.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting us.
Always.
Well, it is a pleasure to meet you, Ms. Walker, Pastor Walker.
You too.
And thank you so much for honoring us with your presence today on our show. And is Pastor going to join you, or is it just going to be you?
Yes, I do have him on the phone. Go
Okay.
ahead, babe.
Greetings, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Awesome. How you doing, Pastor?
I'm doing fantastic. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I had run out to Pensacola today.
Okay. We understand. Ministry never ends. It's 24/7.
That's it.
Well, all right then. Well, let's just get started, if you will. First Lady Walker, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and about your podcast.
Oh, wow. I'm so excited. Never at a loss for words, but I just wanted to share about the Hanging with the Walkers. We have been flowing for a couple of years. Our ministry itself allowed the birthing of Hanging with the Walkers to be able to share, bring people together, connect them together, as our ministry's name is Connecting in the Spirit Outreach Ministries Incorporated. We interview singles, married, business, men and women, those that have a story to tell, those that are dealing with issues that need to be brought to the forefront to be able to help bless and birth them to their healing point. So we are like a nice mixture of what it is that we desire in other podcasts, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So how long have you been doing your podcast?
We have been doing the podcast now. This is 2024. We started like before we went to the radio.
Mm-hmm.
2018, 19. And then we started to get picked up by this radio station in Bradenton, 2020. And then from there to another radio podcast, and then to the She Real Radio in Atlanta, Georgia. So 2018.
Nice. Okay, so our series for this month that we're doing is to help others who have been abused. What can you tell us about your story?
Definitely very personal, unlike those that are on the line in one way or the other, and especially the beautiful Amanda Harris. Thank you so much for inviting us again. To know that it's someone that is close to you, that is supposed to protect you, look out for you. Actually was supposed to be babysitting us for, I have a twin brother. So when I say us, I refer to him. Supposed to be babysitting us for my mom to send him out to play so that he could play. Detrimental, very hurtful, confused. As Lady Port says, was it my fault? Was it something that I did at 8 years old that brought this or prompted this? And it was just a nightmare. Created a black widow, so to speak, someone that would draw others close to them so that you could try to hurt or destroy them. And as she said, trying to seek out for counseling probably would have been the best thing. But as her question said, sometimes we try to allow the church or ministry to try to help heal us, bring us together, or just emotionally you try to deal with it. And then you mask it, then you hide it. And then you become this person that you don't even know.
Mhm.
And then we grow up, and then here we are. And then when reality sets in, you will either lose it, run, or try to do something about it. So at that point in my adult life, I decided to do something about it. So I just became erratic in trying to help others. Tapped into the OBGYN as a nurse some years ago, and was able to get the favor of the doctors, so that when there was someone that was there that dealt with hurt, I was able to minister to them one on one, that did more than medicine did behind closed doors. Then they were able to seek the treatment that they really truly needed. And that started my ministry over 20 years ago of trying to help those that have been hurt and broken.
Okay. Nice.
All right.
And
Excuse me.
all you're helping other survivors.
Yes.
But we're gonna go with the next question, and Cassandra will have those questions.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Really appreciate your time and sharing your story, and to be so vulnerable as to do so. So thank you again. Um, in our communities, we tend to share our stories in one way or another, sometimes formally, sometimes informally. So we might, spill the tea with your hairdresser, or the guys go to the barber shop and they talk their talk and what have you, but you're still sharing that information.
Mhm.
And then you have those times where, people turn, like you said, to the church,
Yes.
to come in and to seek counsel. And so, my question to you is, how is it that you and your organization are able to help those who are seeking counsel because of abuse?
Okay. Would you like to answer that question, or you want me to?
You go
Um,
ahead.
the thing that we try to encourage in those that have been broken or hurt, as far as healing is concerned, is to offer one-on-one services. And we understand and know, as a ministry entity, from my understanding, we are still upheld to report any abuse that we know of, because we could be held liable that if we did not share, that they could say that we are holding back or protecting the person that actually harmed that person. But to want to be able to seek help first is the major question. To be open and bold enough to say, yes, I want help, or to be able to, as a leader, to sense that something is wrong and this is not a person that is acting like themselves, to be able to draw them to you so that they can trust you, to be able to share, to open up so that they can heal. So we have a responsibility first to know who we labor among, and then second of all, to be able to have that gift from on high, to tap in and allow that person to open up in privacy, to be able to share so that they can heal. So our responsibility is to them to know who they are, know who we labor among, and to walk and carry ourselves in a way that they can trust us, to be able to come to us, to be able to open up so that they can get the healing, the direction, and the referrals that they need during that time.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing that, because it's really important that people are aware, first
Mhm.
of all, that many churches do provide that level of service, that it's one on one, because sometimes that's a concern.
Yes,
You
it
may
is.
not be at that point of wanting to be in small group or something like that to share your story.
Mhm.
So to be able to have it one on one is definitely a service. And then to know, like you said, that you kind of have to disclose that you're essentially, in being a teacher, I understand, a mandated reporter.
That's it.
And so having to notify the authorities of abuse, and again, and that being a step taken for further protection.
Mhm.
And so my follow-up question to that is, for leaders who are seeking to step into this role, of being able to provide support, what advice or suggestions would you give to them?
First of all, to have counseling themselves, because we know they are, I know you've heard the vicious cycle, hurting people hurt people.
Mhm.
And sometimes we're leading while bleeding. Sometimes we're going through things ourselves emotionally, physically, and psychologically. So to definitely seek counseling first before we can give counseling, to know thyself, and then to be able to open up a situation, meeting, experience, timing, to where you can have one-on-one or group therapy, to be able to offer that, because everyone can't counsel, everyone can't share, everyone can't tap into that, because they've either been the victim or they may have been the accuser. So they're dealing with things themselves. So to be able to get counseling and then be able to have guidance to set it up in a way that would be effective for the survivor.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. That
And
hadn't considered, for the leader to make sure that they're equipped
Yes.
in their own lives before
Mhm.
you're able to step out and support somebody else. So that, I
Mhm.
guess that's that, get your own oxygen mask
Mhm.
before you start supporting others. Lady
and
Pope.
I love what she said, leading while bleeding. That was a nugget. I told everybody to just keep that. But for a lot of people, that was actually like a good piece of advice. How can you lead if you're still bleeding too?
Mhm.
So I really like that saying. So that's going in my repertoire of new sayings. So I'm just
I'm stealing it too. Don't worry.
All right. We all have coined it. So
yes.
man, we're gonna make it go viral.
That's it. Actually, in our ministry, my husband, we were talking about that, sharing that in the ministry, and he was the first one that said, "You know what? We need to do a conference about leading while bleeding,
Mhm.
pulling leaders in, because
Mhm.
they may not ever say anything. We just suffer in silence and we keep going. You know, we have this thing that we want to help everyone. We want to be able to give to everyone, but what about those silent cries? What about those midnight times when your pillow is wet from the hurt and for what you've experienced? And then we
Mhm.
wake up the next morning, put on makeup, dress up, put on a suit, and then we go out and we're gonna help the world. We're gonna heal the world. In the meantime, we're bleeding on the inside, we're hurting on the inside, and no one knows it. And
Yeah.
only God hears our silent cry.
Right. Right. Yeah, you and Pastor should definitely make that uh another ministry. You know, reach out to a multitude of leaders, pastors who run churches and have to deal with that on a regular. They're so busy doing what they've been called to do that they don't always have an opportunity to pull back and take care of themselves.
Mhm.
And that's why we lose a lot of pastors. My pastors say it all the time. Another pastor done committed suicide, or they've stepped down from the
Step down.
pulpit,
That's it.
you know,
That's it.
and it's because they're not taking care of their own mental and emotional issues.
Mhm.
And they've taken on so much from having to minister and counsel others, you know, and you need a breather yourself. You need a break. You need to go get replenished,
So
refilled.
true. So true.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good word.
Mhm.
It is. And I've been saying a lot lately in some of my conversations, like energy transference is real.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
when you are talking to other people, particularly those in, like you said, Pastor, in a mode of healing, you're human too. So you
Yes,
begin
you are.
to kind of, you take that in.
Mhm.
And so, like you said, being able to be equipped to handle that,
Mhm.
because you're still one person. So how do you, work with your own issues while dealing with other issues and not allowing it to compound itself so much
Mm-hmm.
that you end up putting yourself out, like you said, K-Love, it with suicide
Yeah.
or having to step down because of mental breakdowns or near
Mhm.
mental
Mhm.
breakdowns. It's a real thing, and so we have to be mindful of that as well.
And you
So,
see you see posts all the time. Check on your strong friends.
yep,
You
Mhm.
see that all the time. Whether in ministry, as she said, teaching. I can't even fathom being a teacher in this day and age, considering the things that the children are going through. Latchkey kids, raising their brothers and sisters. Having to look out for them or provide in one way or the other. And carrying that burden, and then going home and looking at your kids and saying to yourself, wow, so that's a lot. So prayers are for our teachers also too.
Yeah.
absolutely, and thank you for that.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to move into our next question. During this series, and at this time, we've had our open letters to a survivor pledge. And so
Hmm.
I'm going to read out the pledge, and then my follow up will be what do you find to be the importance of this pledge?
Okay.
So here's our pledge. Today, we pledge that we will not let survivors fight alone, that upon disclosing abuse, we will not only stand in the gap in prayer, but assist in resources. We will believe and guide them through the trauma and let them know they are not alone. Today, we stand up for every survivor whose voice shakes while telling their story. For survivors who choose to heal loudly because they had to be quiet for so long.
Hmm.
When families and the justice system fails them, we will still uplift them and help them find their worth. We pledge today to continue our work and fight for survivors.
Hmm. That's powerful. That's really powerful. Um, I heard something similar to that for the breast cancer survivors also. And of course, my husband's always on the phone, so I'm always going back to him to see if there's something that he wanted to say or share in between.
Mhm.
Anything at this point?
Yes, good evening, good evening. When we are dealing with those that have dealt with issues in life,
Uh-oh. Trying to see if we lost him. I know the connection is kind of rough.
how about now?
Now you're good. You're good.
Okay, okay. When we're dealing with survival, we gotta make sure that when we encourage them, when we strengthen them, when we help them come over the hurdle that they have come over, we gotta make sure that we still maintain the communication within.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times we can help someone get past an obstacle at that moment, but what about the next day and the day after that, right? So we have to keep this thing going forward and forward. And I believe that if we continue to encourage the survivors, whether it has been sexual assault, domestic violence, or whatever the issue may be, that we can never underestimate the power that it affects to helping a survivor.
Hmm.
And that the things that we share with them, the things that we talk with them about, can take them to the rest of their life, and it can move them past the hurt, the pain, the agony, the anxiety, and it can move them past the unforgiveness. It can move them past the trust issues, because that's mainly what builds up, and it won't affect them in their livelihood, in their marriage, or in their relationship. They won't affect them on their job. It won't affect them in their community, because all this play a key important part of our lifestyle, of how we grew up and where it would take us at. So we have to be very mindful of this here. And we have to be a good listener.
Hmm.
Mhm.
We have to be a good listener. We can't just do all the talking, because we got to allow them to express themselves without being judged or thinking that they're going to be judged by what happened to them, because they're already thinking that the issue is their fault or what happened to them. So we have to be a good listener, and we have to validate it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I agree.
We have to validate it, because we have to think about the time when we were vulnerable and we faced crisis.
Hmm.
It
Mhm.
may not have been as traumatic as what they're dealing with, but we all have been through something. And the little
Right.
stuff that we've been through, look how devastating that was to us.
Yes.
So we have to validate it, and we have to understand that, to let them know it's okay. It's going to be all right, that I'm here with you, and you're not alone.
Mhm.
And we have to keep that communication going on and on and on. We just can't stop it, because that's in an abuse that would follow them for the rest of their lives.
Hmm.
And it don't take much to trigger that in relationships, on jobs, or even just having a small conversation. You can say one thing that will bring them back to reality of what they
That's
used to
true.
deal with, and they will shut down immediately.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have to validate that right there. And we have to make sure that we ask what's more important to them than what we think is important to them.
Right. Right.
A lot of times we can think what we're saying is really important, and it's really not even helping them because they don't shut down from the beginning. Because when you walk into a room and you go to minister to somebody, you go to counsel somebody, your demeanor of how you walk up in there determine how they're going to receive you.
So true.
So we got to make sure that the question that we're asking and what we're saying more important than what we think it should be said. And we have to be a great listener at all. We can't do all the talk. We got to let them express and get it off their chest.
Right.
And if we don't know everything, but we got to be able to have some auxiliaries where we're able to point them to someone. We can't think that we know everything.
Right.
Because this is why we all come together. There are so many podcasts out there. There are so many things that are taking place, and we connect together for this reason, that if I can't help someone, I know someone that can. And we can't be afraid to point out and ask for help to help someone.
So true. So true. And I just wanted to just add just to the end of that pledge that she wrote was so powerful. As he said, there were points that she addressed, but sometimes when I hear things, words stand out to me, and they make sense. She used the word stand. We have to stand with them so that they'll know that they are not alone. We have to guide them, as my husband said, guide them to the ones that can help them, the ones that can really help them heal. And then to know that they really want to heal from the point where they are. Sometimes we can be so damaged. It could be so detrimental to us, till it doesn't matter to us whether we heal or not. Just leave me be. It doesn't matter. I don't want to deal with that. So we have to make sure that we understand that, yes, they want to heal. And then encourage them to speak up, because we've been taught over this journey, you have to expose the enemy. And if you don't talk about it and share it and let the enemy know that you can't hold this over my head now, I'm not hiding this anymore. I'm letting this out so that I can vent, so that I can heal. And in them speaking up, they'll be uplifted. They'll be encouraged, because then there's not the burden and the weight. Because as Lady Poet said on our podcast, the more she talk about it, the better she feel. The more the burden becomes lighter, because now you're not holding this over my head. And then I can deal with those areas that were detrimental, that held me back, that caused me not to let go so that I could grow. And then fight for your freedom, fight for your right to be a survivor, fight for your right to be free in your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit, because it's your healing, not theirs. It doesn't matter to them whether you heal or not, but it's your healing, your life, your freedom, your strength, your love. Get your right back to live, because it was never about us. It never was. We felt like we were a victim. Oh, woe is me. It's all about me. It was never about you. It was so that he trusts you enough to where you will reach out and help someone else. Awesome pledge.
Yes.
I thank you for that, because a lot of times we get so stuck in saying, well, why did this happen? Well, why did this happen? And even I've had moments where I've dealt with that, but now to be giving back and to be doing this and to be helping other people is like, well, God used, that for his glory.
Yes.
So when that song, one of my favorite songs is actually "There Will Be Glory After This," and now that's my testimony that after
Yes.
everything I went through and after everything I walked through, the glory is coming. I mean, I see it
That's
every
it.
day.
That's
So
it. That's it. That's it.
And it's giving yourself permission to tell your story,
That's it.
right.
because it's like you said, the story is yours. Anybody, they can contest it all they want to. You can tell your side of your story, but
That's it.
you give yourself permission to do so.
You can't tell
And
it like I tell it.
Right.
and even in one of my books I wrote, if you wanted me to write better, you should have behaved better. And I also post a lot of the times that if you're gonna tell my story, at least tell it right. So make sure
Mm.
you tell the ugly parts and the good parts.
Mhm.
So if you're gonna tell my story, tell it right. So I
That's
tell
it.
everybody that. And even when people do try to tell my story, I'm like, oh, you missed the part. Let me tell you
Right.
about this part.
Right. Right.
Because you're gonna be, I wanted to be all authentic. Tell my authentic story. Tell the real reason
Right.
that I
That's
am
it.
the way I am and the things that I survived. Because if I didn't survive them, could you still stand at the same level? So why make it time to heal? You still in looking at what they say, you can't rob my old house because I don't live there no more. So you can talk about
Mm.
who I used to be, but you can't talk about who I am now.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
So,
That's it.
Dropping your own
That,
nuggets,
listen,
Lady Poet.
that deserves some slack.
I'm putting in my wheelbarrow. You said you putting stuff in your. Yeah, if you wanted me to write better, you should have been better. I got that. Yeah.
okay.
That's
Right.
it.
Right.
That's it. That's good.
So
That's good.
yes, and so I'm going to go on with the next question, and this is for you and Pastor Roger. What encouraging word can you both give to survivors?
Oh, babe, that's on you, babe.
Say that one more time for me.
What encouraging words can you give to survivors?
What encouragement I can give to survivors is to keep on keeping on.
Mm.
And what I mean by that right there, we got to truly allow them to truly express themselves in every area of their lives
Mhm.
by allowing them to make the mistake that they're going to make, to say exactly what they're going to say because they're expressing themselves out of anger and out of hurt. So some things that are going to come out of their mouth is definitely not going to be who the person is because they're still hurting within inside. So I encourage them to keep talking about their situation, to get with other abusers, other ones that have been hurt, and form a coalition of togetherness so that you can draw strength from one another. So the enemy won't allow you to think that you are the only one that's going through what you're going through. It's okay to grieve because many of us grieve different anyway. Some grieve faster, some grieve slower. There's no time limit on how to grieve. So take your time to heal. Take your time to get into a relationship. Take your time to come around people. Take your time to do whatever you need to do, but take your time in doing it so that when you do come out and do it, you're victorious in it and you're able to expound to others exactly what you went through and how you went through and how you overcame it. So I encourage you to keep on keeping on.
Mm. And my words would be, I remind survivors that you are a diamond in the rough. You remember how that diamond was brought into its existence.
Yeah.
It was unusual from the beginning, so that when they picked it out of the bunch, they knew that there were some things that had to be done, had to be shaped, had to be molded, had to be put on the wheel, had to put some fire to it, had to shape it, had to mold it and bring it to its clarity. And when it's brought to its clarity, it is so valuable. Every hurt, every pain, every denial, every no, every rejection, every stab in the back was meant to bring you to your full clarity. So embrace that. Because as my husband said all the time, nobody can beat you being you. You are rare in your existence. And the only reason why the enemy went to knock on your door is because they knew who you were. You didn't know who you were. They sought out to hurt you long time ago because they knew if they could stop you, reject you,
Yeah.
let go of you, push you back, talk about you, that you will never walk into the place that God called you to be.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful black diamond, come forth, will be my words.
Amen.
Yeah.
Hey.
I got one more question, if you don't mind, Lady Poet.
That's fine.
This is for Pastor. Being that you are a Black man and we are working diligently in our communities to reach out and touch the Black men who need counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the stigmas that we have had within our own community about counseling, what can you say or encourage to us, those of us who want to reach out and help them, and as well to the men who know they need help, for whatever emotional or mental or grief or whatever it is that they're going through? How can we reach our men so that we can get our men, our kings and prince, back on track?
Great question.
Thank you.
Well, the first thing we have to do is to respect our black men.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is that a lot of times we don't feel like we're being respected. When we listen to the word of God, the word of God told man to love woman,
Yes.
but he never told woman to love man.
That's
He
it.
told woman to submit unto man.
That's
Submit is the opposite of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you give a man the respect that is due unto him, whether he's doing what he is doing or not doing what he's doing, you will see a difference in him.
Teach.
A man only reacts to what is brought before him.
Mm.
And so if we truly want to bring out the king that's inside of us, if we really want to bring out the man that's inside of us, we got to first get over the hurdle of allow him to first become a boy.
Mm. That's good.
Because there are a lot of men that are still boys that are in the world today. Why? Because they have not gone through childhood yet.
Mm.
Many of us has to step out and become man at the age of 6 on up in certain areas, in certain times.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that when we grow up too fast and we miss our childhood, now as we get in a certain age in life, we become to play out our childhood.
Wow.
So we go back into that shell again of being a child. And so this is why we have a lot of men that are not responsible when it comes to taking care of their children, because a child cannot take care of a child.
Mm.
Mm. Mm.
So if we continue to encourage our brothers and strengthen them and tell them what a good job that they are doing and tell them how valuable that they are, instead of saying that you are no good, you ain't gonna mind to be nothing, you will lose, blah, 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 we will see the results of the men. Because in every king, there's a kid, and in every kid, there is a king.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And so the ladies, which is the queens, are able to birth
Mm.
Yeah.
the king on the inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's one thing about a woman, whatever you give her, she multiply. If you give her a seed, she'll give you a baby. If you put her in a house, she'll make it a home. Whatever you do, she will multiply. Why? Because it's in her DNA. So that's evidence. If that woman was to encourage that young black man, was to encourage the husband, she will see a difference in it. He only gonna respond to his environment, because that's in our DNA. We adapt to our environment. And so if we are nagging at the men and we are cussing at the men, disrespecting the men, then the men's gonna do the same thing over and over.
Mm-hmm.
If you was to go to that man and say, hey, I really do appreciate you and I thank you, he gonna look at you, scratch out, figure out what's wrong with you. Why? Because it's like an alien word to him. He never heard that before. But the more you speak it into his existence, the more he become who he is.
Yes.
So I encourage the women of today, just to, when you see a brother walking down the road, say, hey, my brother, I really do appreciate you for being who you are. And you will see a difference in him. And that will make his day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I leave for you all today, to encourage our black brothers.
All right.
All
All
right.
right.
Yes.
We give you snaps too, Pastor.
We give you snaps, baby. We give you snaps.
He did a micro sermon real quick.
Yes, we did. And we don't understand the power of encouragement.
Yes, ma'am.
Because sometimes they won't help. Sometimes they need help.
Mhm.
But because they don't feel encouraged, don't feel useful, don't feel needed, what am I going to talk about it for? Why am I going to try to heal from that? You don't appreciate me anyway. You don't respect me into what I'm walking into anyway.
Right.
But if I'm encouraged to get help, if I'm encouraged to be built up, if I'm encouraged to get to that next level, then maybe then and only then will I open up and seek what it is that I need while I have time. Mm-hmm.
Amen.
That's good.
Amen.
That's good.
That was a good word.
That's
Yeah.
good.
And our last question for the evening is, so I asked both of you, what's next for the Walkers? We want to know what's next, because we are family now, so we got to keep in touch. And so we need to know what's next, so we know when to come to the family reunion.
Oh my goodness. Well, the first thing on the agenda would be trying to get Lady Port to come to Florida, because we tag team with this Pastor Kiera Johnson and the other young lady to get her to come to Florida. To put that together with her schedule, considering she's blowing up, so we have to kind of like get on her itinerary so she can pencil us in. That would be the first thing. And then we have trying to connect with the radio stations. She's doing some awesome things, some magnificent things. We can't even catch up with her, but we have some things that's coming up in Lutz, Florida, Bradenton, Fort Myers, Fort Pierce, Women's Conference, Pastors Appreciation, even doing a tapping in with this young lady to do like a sneakers ball for the December babies and that sort of thing. So as Lady Port says, wherever we can network at, wherever they open a door and let us in, that's what we're doing.
Or we gonna kick the door down ourselves.
Yes, we're gonna kick it down ourselves. Gonna do monthly small sale meet and greet groups so that we can build. And as Lady Port says, again, I keep referring back to her conversation, being able to reach out to those counselors, ones that we know that in different areas that are able to help the survivors, wherever they may be, to connect with them, connecting with other podcasts so that we could link up. Zip Mouth Motivation, I want to make sure that I connect you with her so you all can come on her podcast. She is a mindset coach. And I tapped you into one of her videos when we interviewed her. I'd love for you all to get together because we're all on the same page, doing the same thing, giving the same energy, trying to encourage and strengthen the survivors. So being able to do that. Connection is our name. Connection is who we are. So that's what we're about from now to the end of the year. We're already booking into January, and that's okay. But we understand and know how to pace ourselves, and then just connect. Pray. I pray for you. You pray for me, and we watch God change things.
Amen. And we will. And whenever you pencil us in, whenever you tell me you want us to come to Florida, we all going. So it's
sounds
me,
good.
Cassandra,
My
and
bag's packed
Caleb.
already.
Listen, keep the
She said
bags
I'm
ready.
packed
That's all
up.
I gotta say. We can make that thing happen. We can make
Okay.
it work.
Wait.
Oh, and I am on my sixth book, about to drop my sixth CD.
All right.
Trying to encourage. It's called My Broken Pieces. So we just have to deal with some things. So the books and CDs can get to people that I may never see, may never meet, may never reach. After I've left their presence, after they've talked to me, I still want to leave words of wisdom. So in those times of need, and they feel like they need a word or a song, they can reach back to the music and to the songs and just be uplifted and encouraged and know that they are not alone.
Yes.
Okay. So before we end, what is the name of all of your books? Where can we find them? And the name of your CDs?
Like the books, Forever Growing is one book. We Can Make It Work, volume 1 and 2. His wife, his armor bearer, and I Do Fit. And the songs are, again, just like the books, giving you music that you can listen to. Some of it is smooth R&B, gospel. However the Lord gave it to me, that's how I wrote it. Did I understand that? No, I did not. But the songs will complement them. They are on Amazon, Kindle, Kingdom Christian Bookstore, and Resurrection Life Christian Bookstore in Fort Pierce, Florida. And two of them are online stores, Black owned, so that you could be able to get it through the mail.
Well, thank you so much for that, and I thank you and Pastor Roger for coming on today.
Thank you for the
We
invite.
are anytime we're going to connect. Pretty soon, it's not the last you're going to see all of us together. So I just want to let
Yes.
everybody know that. And also, K Love and Cassandra are both starting what we are calling our Rage Release. So Cassandra's in Detroit, K Love is here in Cleveland with me, and we are starting that too. Um, when people are going through rage and different parts of their healing, we want to give them an outlet to reach out to. So we'll be starting that in the next few weeks. So I'll be telling you more about that behind the
Okay.
scenes.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds
All
good.
right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And then we're going to go to our motivational minute, our spotlight, and our let's go to therapy segment. And we'll be ending for today.
I love the motivational segment. It's awesome.
All right. Well, I'll be doing motivational minutes today because we're keeping Tim in our prayers as he is traveling back. He was on the road, so he will not be here today. So for everybody, I just want to tell you that I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you keep showing up no matter how hard it is. That you keep showing up, one, for you, and two, that everything you face did not stop you. I'm
Mhm.
proud of you. I'm proud of you for your decisions, even when they were hard, that you had to make. I'm proud of you for keeping yourself grounded when you felt like you didn't have nowhere to go. I'm proud of you for fighting for yourself when everybody else fought against you. I'm proud of you, and I want you to know that you are worthy. And we want you to know that we love you, we support you, and that we are proud of you. And on your journey, just keep going because you are a survivor. So
Mm.
that is our motivational
All
minute
right, that
for today.
deserves some snaps. That deserves some snaps. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay, and then we're going to take it to our spotlight and our let's go to therapy. And while Cassandra's sitting there in the quiet right now, we're going to actually speak about her in the spotlight section. So I'm
All
turning that
right.
over to Kay Love.
All right.
Surprise, surprise. So in our spotlight tonight, we have to tell you about Dr. Zenora Thompson.
Oh.
She is going to be hosting a grief interactive workshop.
Mm.
It will be held July 13th from 11 a.m. until 3:30, and it will be held at the St. Mark's Presbyterian Church at 22111 Chagrin Boulevard in Beechwood, Ohio. Please contact her to register at 216-392-0650.
Mm.
And like Pastor said, we all grieve differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, some are faster, some are slower, some, go through the emotions, and some are just flat, So it's good to go to an interactive workshop about grief so you know how you grieve and how you need to address your grief.
That's it.
And then we have here to join our very own Cassandra Williams. Woo-woo! As she makes her grand entrance as guest on the Titus and Women Unplugged podcast tomorrow.
All right. All right.
July 1st. At what time, Cassandra?
So it will be running. It's actually already up. So I'll be posting it on social media, but it's in Spotify for Titus Two Women podcast. And so it is there right now.
Awesome.
Don't forget to tag me.
We will tag you. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So now in our Let's Go to Therapy, are you looking for therapy services? For us and by us, check out two extraordinary Black therapists, both trauma-informed Dr. Shamara Hutchins, also known as the Mindologist, on all social media platforms.
Awesome.
Yes. And then also we have Belinda Williams. You can contact her at belinda@chawc.org for all therapy needs.
Thank you for that. So that is our Let's Go to Therapy segment. So if anybody needs therapy, as we always say, you can email us at openletterstoasurvivor@gmail.com. We actually check the email address sometimes all throughout the night. So if you guys need services, again, just put in the subject line. Let's go to therapy. If you need services for one of us in particular, you can even put pastors Roger and Barbara Walker, and I'll make sure I get that email over to them as well.
Thank you.
So they are also here. Like I said, they're part of us too, like their family as well. So if you, whatever you need from them or whatever, as long as you put their name in the subject line, we won't even open it. We'll just forward it over to them.
Amen.
So that's all for today. We thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Open Letters to a Survivor. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. We love you. And next week is self-care week. So we'll be talking self-care next week.
Yeah.
So thank you all for tuning in. We love you. Bye.
Love you more. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Pastor Roger.